Assessing and Understanding Creativity in Large Language Models is a research paper that measures the creativity of different LLMs against each other in a relatively objective way and asks the question, do these models actually possess real creativity, or is their apparent smartness merely an illusion, a complex imitation of human thinking created by their training paradigm? But measuring creativity is not that easy. So let's have a look at how they did it. The TTCT has been the most widely used and researched test for creativity, having extensive data to support its reliability and validity. We select tasks from the TTCT to construct our database. TTTC stands for Turing's Test of Creative Thinking and is basically the gold standard when it comes to measuring creativity in humans. This paper uses tasks from the TTCT as a basis of their creativity testing for LLMs, and we'll go a bit more in depth into different examples later. First, the paper states that there is a relationship between creativity and various personality traits. Since large language models have exhibited some personality traits, we conducted experiments to test whether these findings also hold true in LLMs. But how do they now want to evaluate the creativity and correlation to different personality traits between the different LLMs? For that, they decided to use GPT-4 Evaluator to get scores for each model on all answers across various criteria. The authors used the standard TTCT to assess GPT-4's creativity. The results showcased that GPT-4 achieved human top 1% levels in fluency and originality, along with a high score in flexibility. So, in order to objectively evaluate the different LLMs and assist them with the tests, they used GPT-4. I feel like using an LLM to evaluate other LLMs is maybe not the best or most objective solution, but they use the standard TTCT to benchmark GPT-4's creativity, so that's a good thing. For the actual test, they construct a data set containing 700 questions of 7 tasks, which was derived and modified from the psychological scale of the TTCT and expands the number of questions using GPT-4. And the test includes 7 distinct creative thinking tasks. 1. Unusual use task. 2. Consequence task. 3. Just suppose task. 4. Situation task. 5. Common problem task. 6. Improvement task. And 7. Imaginative story task. The tasks are self-explanatory, but let's have a little bit of fun here to understand them. I give examples for each task from the paper, and I give you a few seconds to come up with as many answers as you can. You can of course also stop the video and come up with more answers and write your answers in the comments. First, unusual use task. List unusual uses for a plastic bottle. Second, consequence task. What would be the consequences if animals could talk? Three, just suppose task. Just suppose you woke up one morning and found out that you could fly. What would you do? List as many things as you can think of. 4. Situation task. If all books would disappear, how would you gain knowledge? 5. Common problem task. Imagine you're planning a cross-country trip. List all problems that you may encounter. 6. Improvement task. List all the ways that you can think of how you can make a plastic bottle better. Don't worry about if the improvement is actually possible or not, just list everything that you can think of. 7. Imaginative story task. Write an imaginative story about the invisible elephant. 8. Alright, I hope you came up with a few interesting things. For the LLMs, each task includes 100 questions generated by GPT-4. And all problems have been validated by humans to ensure usability. When actually evaluating the creativity, the test looks at four main attributes for each task. Fluency. This refers to the ability to produce a significant number of relevant ideas in response to a given question. In essence, fluency measures the quantity of ideas. Flexibility. This assesses a variety of categories from which one can generate ideas. It's the ability to think of alternatives, shift from one class or perspective to another, and to approach a given problem or task from different angles. Originality. This measures the uniqueness of the ideas generated. Original ideas are those that are rare or unconventional, differing from the norm. Elaboration. This refers to the ability to expand upon, refine, and embellish an idea. It involves adding details, developing nuances, and building upon a basic concept to make it more intricate or complex, for which they utilize GPT-4 to score the answer. How good are your answers measuring on these four different criteria? I mentioned that using GPT-4 to evaluate may not be the best solution here, but additionally, we also verified the consistency between the evaluations made by LLM and human evaluations. So they made sure to test and verify the validity of GPT-4 in the evaluation process. And they didn't only give the different tasks, but subsequently we experimented with many types of prompts to see whether changes in prompts would affect the model's levels of creativity. Since LLMs possesses the ability to play user-specific roles, we selected 6 typical human identities to explore the impact on creativity under different role-playing conditions. The roles given were an engineer, a farmer, a merchant, a scientist, an artist, and a primary school student. So by changing up the prompts and giving different roles, they really accounted for a variety of different test conditions. On top of that, to further validate the rank of the models, we conducted pairwise comparisons between the models. So they basically let them fight one-to-one. But now, let's have a look at the findings of the test. Looking at the average scores of each criterion across all tasks, as shown in figure 2D, the score for elaboration is consistently high across all tasks, while originality is relatively lower, with fluency and flexibility scoring in the middle. Here on the left side you can see the ranking of the different LLMs. And on the right side you can see how the different LLMs compared against each other. So for example, right on the top you see GPT 3.5, and in the right corner you see a 0.89. That means that GPT 3.5 scored 0.89 against Vicuna's 13b. If you see at the bottom, Vicuna's 13b has a 0.11 against GPT 3.5. And here you can see the different categories ranked against each other. So as you can see, elaboration is ranked highest, and originality is ranked lowest amongst all the questions and all the LLMs. It can be observed that most models exhibit a higher level of overall creativity in the common problem, consequences, and unusual uses tasks, while the overall creativity level is lower in the just suppose and imaginative story tasks. I don't think it comes as much of a surprise that LLMs score highest in elaboration and lowest in originality across all questions when you know how an LLM works. They are trained on a lot of already existing knowledge, so elaborating on it should be much easier than coming up with something new and original. The paper goes on to explain the different prompts they used: basic prompt, instructive prompt, post-instructive prompt, and chain of thought (COT) prompt, which I won't go in depth into here. If you want to learn more about the specifics, the paper is in the description. Just in summary, the creative performance of LLMs, like their other abilities, is significantly influenced by the prompts. Effective prompt engineering is greatly beneficial for better harnessing the potential creativity of LLMs. And when it comes to the different roles, there was one role that scored highest across all domains. Can you guess which one it was? I'll let you have a look at the different roles again and have a guess which one was the one scoring highest. An engineer, a farmer, a merchant, a scientist, an artist, and a primary school student. Across all creativity assessment criteria, the creativity level of the scientist surpassed that of the other 6 roles, reflecting a correlation between the accumulation of knowledge, educational attainment, and the level of creativity. Did you guess scientist? Or did you guess artist? Or any other role? Another point the paper makes is that creative activities can be accomplished through collaboration and discussion among multiple individuals. So the paper tested collaboration between multiple LLMs on the tasks. And there were a few differences depending on how many LLMs were used, but generally, the results produced through the collaboration of LLMs have stronger creativity compared to those generated by a single LLM. This supports the conclusion that collaboration can enhance creativity and is consistent with human behavior. As you can see, the testing is very thorough, which is great. The next thing the paper looked at are human personality traits and their correlation to creativity. First, they assessed the development of the different traits in the LLM. They selected 8 personality traits: emotional intelligence, empathy, self-efficacy, openness, conscientiousness, extraversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism. To explore whether akin to humans, there's a correlation between various personality factors and the creative capabilities of these advanced computational systems. And yes, for the most part the correlation is pretty similar to humans. Just for agreeableness and openness the correlation was different. As the paper states, the levels of emotional intelligence, empathy, conscientiousness, extraversion, and neuroticism in large language models have a significant positive correlation with creativity levels, while agreeableness shows a significant negative correlation. So while the paper could show that LLMs possess a degree of creativity, they believe that the creativity exhibited by LLMs is only an outcome-oriented interpretation. Whether AI models possess true creativity from a human cognitive perspective remains an open question in the field of artificial intelligence. This may seem like an unimportant distinguishment for some, and in many, maybe even most areas it probably is. But whether LLMs possess creativity based on a human cognitive understanding or not becomes really interesting when it comes to AGI. Now, there are other approaches to AGI out there than just LLMs. Hyperon, for example, is an approach that can combine all possible other approaches, including LLMs, within itself. I have dissected a 100-page paper where Hyperon is explained in the video right over there, so be sure to check it out.